Hi everyone, I'm Chris O'Neill from Sew the Distance. Thank you so much for joining me for day 5, or July 5th, of Christmas in July. I'm so excited about today's project because we are going to be using those 3 leftover blocks from yesterday and making a holiday banner. Now I made one for the 4th of July with the leftover pieces from the original 3-yard quilt that I made and I showed yesterday. And here it is. Here's what I made. Look at how cute. And I have this hanging in my kitchen, or had it hanging in my kitchen. You can see a picture here of how it looked. It was on my hutch. Don't mind if there's any dust. But this is super fun to make. And by the way, we're doing Joy, J-O-Y, not USA for this project. Now for this one, I use these blocks as a way to test different quilting. And you can see that I tried out different quilting techniques. And this is a great thing to do if you aren't quite sure how to quilt a quilt. You can take the extra blocks and play with it. Now for this one, you can see that I cut out the letters with Wonder under, and I'll show all of that. But for this project, we're going to be using iron-on letters. Now, if you don't have any leftover blocks or you don't have enough, oh, one other thing, I used a separate binding for this one's a better example. I just put it on a traditional way, but for the project today, just to make it a little bit more accessible for everyone, I'm going to be doing a self-binding technique, which is great for beginners. Now, if you are more of a seasoned quilter, you of course can do any binding you want. I also do have a video on about, I think it's like 3 or 4 different ways to bind things. And I know it's a St. Patrick's Day video, but there's a lot of good techniques in there that you can use, even quilting techniques. And as you can see here, I did a wave, I did a crosshatch, and I just did a, well, not stitch in the ditch, because you know, if you've watched my other videos, I don't like stitch in the ditch. I like stitch in the neighborhood, and I did that on this one here. So it was a fun way to do that and to just explore. And then I like that I use different bindings too. It kind of just made it a little bit more fun, but you can do it however you want. Now, if you didn't have enough blocks, you need to make extra, or if you just want to make this again in different colorways, you can do that. So you need 1 3.5 by 4.5 for the center. You need 2 2 by 4.5 strips, 2 2 by 3.5 strips, and 4 2 by 2 2-inch squares. Let me say that again. You need 4 2-inch squares for the corners. And you'll get a block like this when it's all sewn together. And yes, it does bring it all in because you're using a 1/4-inch seam. So that's that. And it's the exact same size as these. Let's move on to our project. Okay, so the supplies that you'll need, and again, this is all going to be on my blog, so you don't have to remember any of this, but feel free to jot it down if you want to, that's fine too. So for this, you will need your 3 blocks, or to make them. You'll also need backing, and like I said, we're going to do a self-binding backing, so it's kind of big. It seems kind of big at least. These are 9 by 10. There's a little bit of trimming involved, so if you're worried about waste or anything like that, maybe watch the whole video through and make your own adjustments. For me, I like to have a little extra so I can play with it and just insurance policy again. So 3 of those. Then for batting, you need 3 scraps of batting, 7 by 8. Now, you can use different battings. It's not gonna matter. It's just a little wall hanging. Nobody's gonna go up and feel it and squish it. So whatever scraps you have will work. You will also need some sort of ribbon. And let me see, on my sample, I used a ribbon, you can see that here, for the hanger. I also hand stitched it, just tacked it down. You can use glue. I wouldn't use a machine because then you're gonna see the stitches here, but that's totally up to you. However you wanna tack it down is fine, and however permanent or not permanent you wanna make it is fine too. You could even do like Velcro and do ribbon. So I am using this vintage Christmas ribbon because I just think it's so pretty. And it's 40 inches of that. That's what I used at least. And then some sort of ring. I'm using these plastic rings, and it's just to put hangers on them like I did, and I just tacked it down too. You could use just regular rings for key rings, that's fine too. Whatever you'd want to use to hang it, you know your house, you know your decor, whatever works. Okay, so let's get to the letters and how I'm doing it. I decided to play with these. These are heat transfer letters, and I actually played with a sample to come up with this pattern and make sure it all worked. And I love the way it came out. I love the feel of it. It's almost like jersey. I don't know, there's a rubber to it, and I do love the look of it. I'm gonna show how to use these. I got these on Amazon, and I just pulled out J-O-Y. But on my original one, and you know, I really should just keep it handy because I keep referring to it, I used Wonder Under like I had said. And to do that, let me show you a little sample of it. All you're going to do is take some interfacing, a fusible interfacing like this. It's double-sided, so you're making an iron-on. And this one's through Missouri Star Quilt Company. That's what I used on this. You can use a heavier weight if you're worried about it lifting. That's fine too. And I'm just going to take a piece, and I printed this out. Joy, you need the letters to be backwards. I will have this on my blog too. You can download it. So all I'm going to do is take this with the sticky side down or the rough side down and place it over. I'll do the J, and I'm just going to trace this, roughly cut it, not on the lines, at least not yet. Okay, and I just have a scrap of fabric. One thing you want to remember is you want to have kind of a dark fabric if you have a darker background in your blocks like we do, because if you use a light letter, it's going to show through. It doesn't really show through with the iron-ons, but it definitely would with one of these. All right, so I'm just going to lay this on the back or the wrong side of my fabric and press it, and I'm pressing on the paper side, and follow the manufacturer's instructions on this. And let that cool for a minute. If we go in with our scissors too soon, it'll be gummy, so we'll let this cool off. You can even wave it to get it to cool off. All right, it's pretty cool now, and I'm gonna cut on the line. So now you're just gonna lay this on, iron it on according to the manufacturer's instructions of the iron-on stuff, and you can stitch around this if you want to. You don't have to. Totally up to you. You can make this as fancy as you want or as basic as you want. All right, so let's get started making our actual project. And I don't think I mentioned, I highly recommend glue, and I know I'm gonna get pushed back on this, but this stuff's good. I use glue, woodworkers use glue. My husband's a woodworker, he uses glue. I think we need to embrace it. So we are going to be using this. All right, so to make these, we are going to take our background fabric, one of them, we're gonna lay it down with the pretty side or the right side, whatever you want to call it, down. Next, we're going to take a piece of that batting and center it as best as you can. Kind of get a good idea. Keep it kind of centered. And then you're going to layer your little quilt block on top, again, centering it as best as you can. You can just give it a press. Now, you could pin this or use glue base, whatever you want to do to keep it together, but I don't find I have much of a problem keeping it like this. And I'm just going to stitch just like I did on the sample. I'm just going to stitch a little bit over on these seams. Okay, you can see that I stitched it just on both sides of these intersections. I love how it turned out, so cute. That's all you're going to do. I mean, you can get real fancy if you want to, but if you're new to this, this is a very simple project that you can do. It really does go together quickly, and it's low stress. Like, it's not a big deal if you make a mistake. All right, so I am going to also just do a stay stitch right around this edge, and I'm going to be using a nice big stitch. It's just a basting stitch. You can do this by hand too if you want to. Be right back. So the next step is in the trimming it down and getting it ready to bind. Now you're probably wondering why I didn't put the decal, the letter on here yet, and that's because I like to quilt it first and then put it on, and you can see I did that with this one. For me, it gives me less of a risk of pulling up these edges of the decal. As I always say, there's a million ways to make a quilt. There's a million ways to make a project. Do what you're comfortable with. This is just how I do it. It's whatever's going to give you success and whatever you're going to have wonderful projects from. You don't have to do it exactly like me. So now we're going to trim down that batting edge, and I'm just going to flip the whole thing over, and I'm going to fold back the backing, and then I'm just going to take a ruler and measure over 1/4 of an inch. Let me move my table over. Get those lights off. There we go. All right. Of course, that camera's off a little, but that's okay. We'll deal. So I'm just going to do 1/4 inch on each side. Now we have something that looks like this. It's nice and neat. So next we're going to trim down the backing some, and we're going to go 1 inch. Where's my pointer? 1 inch from the edge of the block, or you could do 3/4 of an inch from the batting. Whatever makes sense in your brain. And I'm making sure everything is straightish and trimming. I'm going to do that all the way around. Now, sometimes quilting will pull things in, so if you don't have enough, it's okay. It's not going to be a big deal if it's not a full inch. It's all right, just be consistent on each side. Okay, so next we're going to do that self-binding. That's what this technique is called. We're going to fold in. If anybody bakes out there, this is kind of what I like to refer to as par baking. I think that's what it's called when you bake something ahead of time, like a pie crust. We're gonna par press. So I'm just folding in one side right to that batting piece, and I'm gonna press. And then I'm gonna fold it in again and press. And then we're gonna just open that up and do it all the way around exactly like that. Now that that's done, do you see that little corner there? I like to just trim that off at an angle, and that's gonna reduce the bulk. So I'll trim it like this. I'll do that all the way around, just where that little intersection is. Just reduces some of that when we fold it in and miter it. Not a lot, you can see it's just a smidge that I'm taking off. All right, now we need our glue. And a tip for the glue, leave it on its side. That way it's always ready to go. And I'm just going to put a little bit of glue, just small dots. Not a lot, you don't need a lot. And then fold in and press. Now, this Elmer's glue just activates with pressing. Somebody said it's a starch, which it very well might be. And that just holds it in place until we can sew it down. Now for this one, we're gonna fold it like a package. I'm just turning it under just like I was folding a Christmas gift, and fold that in like that. And then we fold it in yet again. And you should get a nice miter on that edge. And we're going to just put a little glue in there. You might want to use a clip. I think I have a clip somewhere. I will. I'll use a clip to do that, just to secure it. And I'm going to keep going all the way around. Now when you get to the last one, it's a little trickier, I'll admit it. And you kind of just have to finagle it. But if you play with it enough, you'll get it. Maybe this is why, because I don't like the last one. As you have to play with it to get it down. That can be the bottom, though, of your banner, right? And press. Now, if you know me, I'm a hand sewer, so I really love doing binding by hand. I probably would tack this down by hand, but for the sake of this video, I will stitch it down. So I'm just gonna sew along that edge. So they are all finished, all three of them, and they're okay. I'm not a huge fan of the self-binding. I can never get one corner right. I don't know if you have that trouble too, but hey, they're done. Now you can take out that basting stitch around the edge if you want to. I'm just gonna leave it. I do need to clean up some threads, but that's okay. I'll worry about that afterward. All right, so now we're gonna put the letters on, and I have links to all of this stuff in the blog, so you'll be able to order these if you want to. So you will need an iron, and then I like to use parchment paper. These are the parchment paper sheets because I'm fancy. So you're just gonna place your letter on, for this one, the J, and it says to put the rough side down, and I'm just going to, you know, estimate it here on where it goes. And then I'm just going to place this on top, and we wait. 10 seconds, I think is what it said. Now before we peel off that plastic on top, we have to let that cool. So I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to do the next two. Okay, so now is the time to reveal. Hopefully this worked. You just peel it off, just like that. It is a little sticky at first, that's okay. It will solid up or whatever, get solid and not be sticky. All right, peel this one, just carefully peel them. If it doesn't want to release, definitely press it again. Oh my goodness, I'm loving the way they're coming out. There we go. Oh my goodness, look how cute. Okay, so now it's time to put the ribbon on. And I was originally going to use fabric fuse to do it, but I got to thinking that we could use, what is this stuff called? Heat and bond, and it's strips. And for my ribbon, it's the right size, and they do make this in other sizes. But the first thing we're going to do is fold this in half, find our middle, which for me is right there. And then I'm going to put my joy right here in the middle. And just center it where that middle spot is, just like that. And actually, I'm gonna mark it with a pencil, just so I know where my edges are. And I'm just gonna use this, I think. I'm just gonna follow the manufacturer's instructions. We're gonna make it the same length as this, maybe a little shorter. I'm gonna find my marked lines right here and center that, just like that. Again, we're going to let that cool. And when you peel this up, it's sticky a little bit, and you just can place this on here and iron it. So I want to put it down, I don't know, like 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch from the top. You could do it all the way to the top if you want. Actually, that's kind of cute with the lace showing, but I think I still want to do it up a little higher. Yeah, like that. And then I'm gonna press. Now I want to be careful not to touch this decal when I press that side. Actually, I'm gonna turn it over and press it too. All right, now we have our Y. I'm gonna place that, I don't know, like right here. I want to have some space between this. I could measure, but yeah, not gonna do that. It's supposed to be fun, right? I'm just gonna mark. Then I'm just gonna do the last one. Eyeball it. Oh my goodness, and here it is. How cute is that? Oh my gosh, I love this. Now the last step would be to add the rings if you want to. You don't have to. I am going to add them, and I'm just going to slide them through this, like this, and stitch that down on both sides, and then I'll have a way to hang it. Isn't it adorable? Oh my gosh, I love how this turned out. I hope you enjoyed this too. Now that we've had some projects under our belt, tomorrow we're going to talk about our Christmas list and what projects we really want to make. I think it'll be fun too, and I'll give you some tips and tricks along the way too, as I always do. Now remember, on Tuesday we have our question and answer, so make sure you're submitting questions. I've gotten a few. I love it. It's so much fun, and I will definitely answer any questions that you may have about the projects, about Christmas in July, about upcoming things, or I try to keep that kind of under wraps just because, you know, we love the surprise, but I'll try to answer as many as I can. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you take some time to sew, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.